Okay, call to order. Roll call.
Mayor Carroll,
Here.
Commissioner Gill,
Here.
Commissioner Gonzalez, Chairman Landers,
Here.
Commissioner McGee,
Here.
Commissioner Boland,
Here.
Commissioner Taylor,
Here.
Councilmember Blevins,
Here.
Commissioner Wilhoit.
Here.
You do have a quorum with 8 members present, 1 absent.
All right. Approval of the agenda. Tom, I think you've got some.
Yes, sir. If we could, to amend the agenda to add a resolution for a moratorium on data centers as item C under the legislative decision. And then an ordinance for data centers classifying the districts where they go as item D and under the legislative decision. These are all new business and not any old business. And then renumber the planning commission's decision for Shelco as D, or sorry, E.
Okay. Duly noted. I have a motion with those additions.
Make that motion.
Second. Motion made, seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the meeting minutes from May 28th of 2026.
If I could ask to defer those, I did not get a chance to complete the review of them.
Motion to defer. Second.
Motion made, seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Constituent comments.
There's nobody.
All right, we're moving, no old business, there's none, so we move into new business. All right, text amendment, an amendment to the Shelbyville Municipal Zoning Ordinance, creating a new chapter and standards for common open space, and amending definitions to clarify usage of terms related to open space. An ordinance of the Shelbyville, Tennessee City Council to amend Article 2 definitions and portions of Article 5 zoning districts related to open space and open space requirements, and adding a new article to the Shelbyville Municipal Zoning Ordinance by updating sections 2.2 definitions 5.4 2A medium high density residential districts R3A, 5.4.3 high density residential districts R4, and 5.8 is planned unit development district, and adding a new article of 9 common open space, and repeal all ordinances or part of an ordinance in conflict herewith. Okay.
The caption changed slightly as I was working on the PUD section. Is very complex, and since PUD already reflects a lot of the requirements, already reflects what's in this particular one, I'm not too concerned that it's not captured in here. We've had multiple applications over the last year, and because of the lack of clarification on how to calculate it, the connectivity as well, which is in PUDs but not in regular subdivisions. This is what this particular ordinance does, is consolidate all the requirements into one article, a new article, chapter 9 or article 9. So you see up here, well, I've got a bunch of examples. I won't, I can go through this rather quickly about the traditional types of subdivision examples. But as far as the different changes in there, I've added additional definitions that might not directly correlate with open space, but it starts moving, it's planning for the, actually to expand into other areas. But so as far as the open space, and there's a confusion over what green space is. Green space is actually open space, but it's just
Have those are been separated, itemized, those definitions? Is that what you?
Oh yeah,
done here?
yes. If you look in here, let's see, this is the new definitions, a common area, what common open space is, what open space is, as well as green space, use of terms as developable land area, what project gross area, we already had
That was
that.
always a source of confusion,
Yes,
being so
yes.
general, and I like to see it.
Yes, so I've made
more
it more
defined.
specific as far as what gross and net project areas are, as well as usable open space. And then the other changes were the consolidating into the one article to add clarifications on there. Some regulations were already in effect, like having open spaces in in an HOA to preserve it. But other things are planning for future needs, such as if greenways are flowing through a subdivision, how that is addressed, as well as what I've done is added flexibility in modifying the requirements, having this commission evaluate each of the individual ones, and if there's maybe a certain feature of the land, the planning commission can modify the requirements of it and review those. Yep, so here's, you can see the larger traditional subdivision examples. Now, I would say that this is what you typically see on the right-hand side. That's typically what a traditional subdivision looks like. And if you don't, if it's not apparent, the whole point of having open space requirements is conservation of resources.
Right.
And so there's a little bit of slowness in there. So you see on the right-hand side is a traditional one. The left-hand side is more of moving into conservation. Now, the only thing, what this is a preparatory document for it to start moving into other conservation type features where there's trade-offs with adding density, but having more open space. So you'll have more open space, but you'll have the same amount of density for that particular property. But I'm not going to talk too much about that one because it just starts getting into more complex features like cluster type of development and things like that. But it's preparation for it, because in this document, in this article, there's areas that are reserved for those types of development. And you see on the right hand side is these are all the same types, but just treated differently. Left hand side is more conserving open space. You see it. We don't have that many mountains here, but this is the best one I could do. One of the best examples, I try not to criticize anybody that, so I pick out the good examples. This is the Lexington Cove PUD, and you can see the amount of open space that they've planned for this. And this was under a PUD, but you could see that a lot of the features of a good planned out open spaces are located within this, as well as you see the diverse type of cottage type units and things like that. But I just wanted to highlight, a representative, good example of moving in that direction. And that's what we're trying to do with this particular ordinance too, is to start moving in that direction, since it has been a concern of this body and the council. So I don't want to leave them out.
Any questions for Paul?
On the duplex part, what is the open space
Yes.
requirements now? Is it
There isn't any.
Okay.
And that is something that I should have highlighted that, because that is a change,
Right.
whether or not you want to do that or not.
Yeah.
Because I don't mean to cut you off, but duplex development is traditionally a low impact. Even though they are, a lot of people view them as higher impact, and they are slightly higher than a medium low density. But they are, we don't actually don't have anything for.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Where'd the number 6? Did that just come? Is that just is that a thought out number there?
Yeah, that was just, to not make it, let me
Too
just open up to
restrictive or
that
too-
section here. Yeah, so in the R4, it just matches the R4,
Okay.
which is a 30 and 15%. So 30% gross, and then 15% of that, or half of it, is the common open area. So in multifamily, the R4 zone district, it is a higher density, but you can do duplexes in the R4 zone district. In the R3A, uh, that can be triplexes or duplexes. And right now, we only have provisions for triplexes, not necessarily duplex. And I didn't want to necessarily make it because it is a lesser density. That's where that number came
Okay.
from. It's just and then as far as, are you talking about the number 6?
Uh-huh.
Oh, that comes actually from our subdivision regulations. So major subdivisions are defined as greater than 6, basically. So that's where that number
Okay.
comes from.
Okay.
That's
That
for a
makes more
regular.
sense.
That's for a regular
So, but that's 6
subdivision.
duplexes, that's 6 buildings, right?
That's
12
correct.
units.
That's correct.
Okay. One more question on the flexibility and administration. That authority there, does that just mean we can deviate on the, could you explain that a little bit on, what that entails?
Yes, the objective is to not have to do a variance for if someone cannot meet the requirements of the open space,
Okay.
and to allow the planning commission, which under subdivision regulation is the board that listens to variances for it, to if there's a case where I don't have an example, but if there's a case, and this is where you have to
Would it lie outside the scope of the BZA? Is that something, or is it just something that you would just cover within like an subdivision application or something?
it just provides a mechanism where if there is a slight deviation in it, and that's something that I could add, is what is that threshold as well. But it's basically if there's a reason that's makes sense why you cannot meet the open space to the full extent. Like maybe it's let's say it's 30% gross and you can only meet 28%.
Would we need to have those numbers listed out, maybe?
That is the other thing that will change in terms of the submittals, is to actually have an open space mapping that is more specific, so that it's a little bit easier to read, because we've had a number of them that were just a little bit harder to read.
Mr. Chairman, if I could be
Yes.
acknowledged. Just want to get back to your question about the BZA.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you change the zoning ordinance, yes, the interpretation of the zoning ordinance is the jurisdiction of the BZA, but generally that comes in the form of an administrative appeal of his decision, not your decision.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, so that's how that is. So an applicant could still say, we want to go to the BZA. We feel like we have circumstances. Our circumstances, when you look at the zoning ordinance, we have on the ground for some reason, we've got something that we should be given an exception. We should be given a variance. So they still have that power to do that under general state law. Let me just put that out there. That's still. So what I think Tom has done has created just local law in which we give you all basically the power to do a variance. And I think the question you're asking is, are we going to put standards in our ordinance that you go by? Just like the BZA.
Yeah.
The BZA has to review all the facts of a circumstance. Does it meet the variance standards? Right. It's not willy-nilly that you get something.
That's where I was
a
going
variance. And so I think that's the question you're asking him. So to me, that's two parts. I think an applicant could still go to the BZA if I'm sitting here going through and going, if they don't like what you say, they might go to the BZA. I would try to say you're challenging a BZA decision, not his decision. I'd have to look at that. There's a couple of places in Tennessee that give some broader power to their BZA, including Knoxville.
Mm-hmm.
Knoxville's actually able to actually review some planning commission stuff.
Mhm.
I'd have to go look at that to see how administratively that falls out. But I think the bigger question for you all, are you going to leave that very broad? Because then everybody's going to ask you,
Mhm.
hey, give us a variance on this, give us a
Yeah.
variance, give us a
No,
variance.
that's where you don't need
Or-
to leave it broad.
Or are you going to give yourself some standards by
Yes.
which
Right.
you measure?
That's exactly where I was going on
Open
it. So
space.
and I didn't know if that, since this is just a summary here, I didn't know if that was something that we need to address now, or is that, I mean,
It would be
because-
good to,
Well,
yeah, I mean, if
what it
it's-
would be
if-
would be similar standards to the BZA. I mean, they're pretty much, like, you didn't create the problem.
Right.
Yeah.
I was,
Yeah,
it's been a while since I've
There's
been
10
there.
standards for it,
That's
yes.
right.
And the critical one is that there's topographical features of the land.
Yeah.
So,
Something
that's
special.
the biggest, or I guess the core of it.
Right.
Because the other part is, the other thing that is very difficult to achieve under a BZA is, did you create the problem?
Mhm.
Or I should say, did you create the situation?
Mhm.
Most of the time, that is true. But I'll give you an example. We had one where the frontage was 50 foot, but it wasn't created by the owner. That one was a historic lot, and it was traditionally 50. I mean, when you look at go back in history over 100 years, it was at the early turn of the century, it was close to 50 foot around that time. It's 50, 60 foot. So in that case, they didn't create that, but they were unable to meet the requirements of it because they didn't own the property next door to it. Because that's the other thing that you have to look at as well, is do they own the property? Because we had another case where somebody owned the property next door to it, and under our regulations and under also just historic cases that relates to where you can merge the two properties together. Basically, that if you have two properties that are side by side, or you own it, and one of them has frontage of 50 foot, the other one has, let's say, 80 foot, you can require under our zoning ordinance, and laws also supports it. You can require that person to move that property line to make both of them
Mhm. Right.
complying with or conforming with our regulations.
Well, I'd say to put in those standards, I guess that mimic the BZA, I would assume. What do you think, council?
I think you probably want to put some form of quantitative where you can actually measure that, or give you some standard, but I'm not sure exactly how much you want to go on that.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm not sure.
And
I do think you want to think about that. Of course, you could also just say, planning commission doesn't want to get into that. Kick it out. We already have a mechanism. Make them go if somebody, make them go to the BZA.
And that could be the route, or if you want to, I mean, the other option is to defer an additional month to study it,
Yeah.
and I can come back.
Oh, I mean, I hate to defer it. I mean, there's a lot. We need the definition. I think there's. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
What about the details for what qualifies open space or green space? Is that what you're, we had a project come through not long ago.
Yeah, you
Is
can
that-
see it up there to the right. I've got it here on my screen to read it, but you can see where it says active, passive, and general. And Tom, if you want to read those, what that actually means.
Sure. Active basically is recreational area. Like you can see that there's playgrounds, walking trails. Passive tends to be areas that are preserved for. They could be wooded areas that you want to preserve those areas. You can still use them for the trails and things like that. And in this case, with the PUD, like with the detention area, there were walking areas around it because it was basically a wetland area, but it was being used also for the stormwater. And that's something that actually, in the PUD you can do if it's a bioretention area. But green area basically is it's an open space. It's just it's a vegetated area, but you can also do it as a landscaped area. So like in PUDs, you can use a boulevard. It doesn't define, what that boulevard might look like because in some jurisdiction they actually specify what is the dimension of that landscape area that's being used as.
Well, the particular project I was referring to, they had, and I can't remember, it was multi-unit, but basically in front of each unit, which in my opinion, the owner of that unit would consider that their front yard. The applicant had that dictated as,
As the open space, yes.
and the sidewalk as well, and even as much as the little barriers in the parking lot, they had circled that and counted that in their calculation. I just want to make sure we're fixing all that if we're going to.
And that's what this
Yeah.
does. It specifies in, under the standards, for approval, setbacks aren't permitted. And the reason why I didn't want to touch PUDs is because in PUDs, it actually allows you to use, side yard if it's 15 feet as open.
And that's what
Or
makes
as,
it.
I guess as,
Is there
as part of your
something that
overall
says
calculation.
open space can't be within 20 feet of a wall of a residence? I mean, I'm not saying it has to be like that. I'm just saying, is there something that dictates it that detailed? Because it's just going to continue to get worse with however they
They do
can.
not like that.
I mean, that one particular project, they used every little piece in there to get there. At the time, I believe it was 15%.
Yeah, they were using the little islands in the
I
parking
mean,
lot.
everything, they calculated everything, and there,
Yes, and
there wasn't a way to, there wasn't a way to touch it.
More as
And-
where
and-
folks
and-
want to be.
yes, and it is under the requirements for approval. So what, the definition supports exactly what you're talking about, is that you can't count those things. You can't count setbacks, you can't count, right of way, anything that's in the right of way. The only, and that's why I gave the example of PUDs, is because you can use a boulevard, as your calculation. So, but it's not specified how large of a boulevard,
What
because
about
if
these
you use a
little-
5-foot strip,
Yeah,
maybe
what-
that's not.
Like these little islands in the parking lot,
Yes.
I think
In this one, you cannot do that.
That would be a right of way.
That would be part of the right of way, yes.
I mean, I get
Anything
it.
that is owned by the city, state, including drainage easements, TVA easements, you can't use those as calculations. So this one is a lot more restrictive in terms of how you calculate the open space and common open space.
just the direction I think we're wanting to go.
Yes, yes.
So with this, if a project like that came again, we have a detailed definition to say why we can or cannot
Yes.
calculate that as open space. Is that
I think
right?
if I
It
go,
needs to be clearly defined.
I think it's actually in, yeah, so what constitutes as, let's see, I don't know if I put it up here. The open space, the definitions do have all those categories, what you're talking about, that cannot be counted as part of your open space calculation. And then when you get to the requirements for approval, it basically goes into even more detail, basically the same as the definition. What I did was I didn't want to put definitions and how you would approve it in the same group. So that one might be, the definitions might be broader in scope, and then you get more detailed in how it would be approved. But what you're saying, exactly, that was the problem with a lot of our
And
plans.
this resolves that.
This resolves it, yes.
Tom, can you move to the next page? So it ends there?
I think those were all the definitions, yes, that are being used in here. Let me just look real quick. Yes, those are all the definitions.
So it excludes mailbox, kiosk,
Yes.
it excludes
It excludes,
any green space that might be in the parking lot.
yes,
I guess
yes.
unless, I guess they could put a designated
Well,
park in the middle of a parking lot.
Yeah, I
don't
mean,
know.
they could
If it
probably,
was
if they,
reasonable, this was unreasonable.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's
Right.
actually,
Yeah.
there's
So-
actually a really good photograph. I didn't put it in here because I didn't want to distract people. But they did a really cool roundabout with a center landscape area.
like a playground or something, or just
It was just
landscape.
landscaping
I
for
mean, yeah,
views.
you could create a large enough space but
And that's
when they're
what the PUD
3 foot
does.
little,
Well,
Islands.
that's something you need to think through that and
We need-
put
we need specifically,
numbers on it.
okay.
Yes, the PUD, that's the problem with the PUD one, the PUD section, is that it doesn't provide a number.
Yes,
And there are, and most, well, a lot of jurisdictions, I'll say, I don't say most, but a lot of jurisdictions have a number for that.
we need
So,
numbers.
so if you have a boulevard, then maybe what counts as open space or green area, whatever, however you calculate it, I guess it would be the open space. Even though it's part of the public right of way, they say that you can count 25 feet if it's 25-foot buffer, vegetated area, green area,
Mhm.
trees and things like that. You can count that, and I don't think that's I think that that's a good idea.
We need to do that before we move along, I believe. If y'all, I mean, right? I mean, there's a couple things we've talked about, but I mean, I think we need to put numbers on that
Do-
because that's been a big deal. I mean, something that you could get, I mean, pretty restrictive, but not crazy.
It'll match what PUDs do. I mean,
Yeah.
it'll match the PUDs.
Yeah.
So regular residential subdivisions will start matching more of how the PUD is done.
Yeah.
So
I'm good with that, but they need, as long as they need to be defined. I mean, is there anything else throughout here that maybe needs a little more refinement and definition? I know we've talked on number 9 with the authority. I don't know how we want to move forward with that.
with the last one about the
Yeah.
flexibility,
Yeah,
9.2.
I mean, it might be something we just want to leave to the BZA, but if it's something that would help you administratively, then
No, it's not for me. It's I was just thinking in terms of how there might be reasonable
yeah. I mean, if there does, then that we need to create standards.
adjustments.
We don't have standards.
But if it would be better to leave that with BZA, I can certainly.
I think
delete
maybe
that
right
section
now,
part.
until we can come up with standards to be able
Okay.
to handle that. I mean, what do y'all think? And it's the way they handle these variances. I mean, it's in open space only. I mean, which would be something that we could maybe talk about more. But I think we're just crossing paths a little bit. I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't see as much benefit to it as I do see that it just, creates another, if they say no here, yes here, maybe it can just cause cross lines, I guess.
With the BZA, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. I mean, it's the same, we're doing variances but it's on open space. Or you would do, you deviate from requirements when the application is impacted by the nature of the land, correct? I mean, if it's just impacted by the nature of the land, then that's kind of defined there. But I mean, I guess, I don't know. I feel like I'm out on an island on my own here.
Anything else? Anyone?
Does this go to the council for approval, or is this something we do here?
You all need to study it as long as you need to study it.
Yeah,
make the
If you want to
recommendations that
defer
you
it,
want.
and I'm fine with that.
I think
mean,
that would be good with those numbers and maybe we
And-
can think about this a little more and.
I think I'd like to read it one more time.
Okay.
But
okay.
this is something we need to push through. I mean, well, it needs to be dealt with quick. I hate to let little,
Well, no. That's not the intention. I mean, it's always better to study
yes,
harder.
maybe that's just the way it's,
And if you like, and I mean, and if if you want to defer it till next month,
Yeah,
then I could bring it back with a PUD as well.
I would, yes.
And then I'll add
When we vote on it,
the
is it
boulevard
active?
and I'll delete that
No.
section.
It has to go to the
Oh,
council.
so it does
This
go
is
to
an
readings. Okay.
amendment,
Yeah,
it's amendment of the
Okay.
zoning ordinance, and so that requires 2 readings from them anyway.
Understood.
But we
That's
wanna
where
get
I
it
was
right.
wondering, how far along the line does this take? So.
yeah.
So if y'all see it in July, then they will see it in August and September.
Okay.
I'm
I
sorry,
would agree
Tom,
with-
delete
I would
what
agree with
section? About the
deferring it a month,
BZA?
if you wanna do that.
Oh,
Yeah.
9.2,
I hate to, but I mean,
the flexibility and 9.2 is the flexibility and administration.
I do think it's a priority, and I agree with Bo. I think, if you don't mind, we'll make a motion to defer it 1 month, and everybody look at it one more time, a little
Who would like to
closer.
make the motion?
A motion to defer for 1 month.
Motion made to defer.
second.
Second. Roll call.
Mayor Carroll,
Yes.
Commissioner Gill,
Yes.
Chairman Landers.
Yes.
Commissioner McGee,
Yes.
Commissioner Boland,
Yes.
Councilmember Blevins,
No.
Commissioner Taylor,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilhoit. That matter passes with 7 yeses, 1 no.
I think I.
It will be deferred until next month.
Okay.
But that's all right.
B, text amendment. An amendment to the Shelbyville municipal
well.
zoning ordinance created liquid asphalt storage and a primary land use and standards that do not include the manufacturing of hot mix asphalt as a batch asphalt plan, and amending definitions for terms to include batch asphalt plan and liquid asphalt storage. And, then an ordinance to the Shelbyville City Council to amend, and, it's pretty much the same thing in the
Correct.
big bold print,
That's
so,
captured there.
Yes.
there you go.
Yes.
There you
So this is something that I brought to the commission as just a show and tell last month, for liquid asphalt storage. Currently, our zoning ordinance puts batch asphalt, which is what liquid asphalt would be typically under or be a component of, in the heavy industrial zone, I3. There is no specific land use for liquid asphalt, and and it is as Dawn, said last month, it is a narrow type of, ordinance that is reflective of a component of something that would usually be batch. And how this came about was that we had a, location for, on Quintek Avenue that is I2, but it's not I3 heavy industrial, and they're not doing batch asphalt, which is a manufacturing process. And batch plants tend to be probably more hazardous, which is why they're typically in the heavy industrial zone, because you're using volatile chemicals as well as, and you're mixing, fuels and things like that. Whereas liquid asphalt, and in this case, what we're looking at is a storage of of something that's already been produced. And the reason why this location is selected was to utilize the railroad line, which is something that liquid asphalt, well, I guess let me back up a little bit. So liquid asphalt is typically found in larger facilities. There's 3 of them, or actually I should say there's more than that, but there's 3 locations. You find it up in Nashville, you find it in Chattanooga, you find it in Memphis, where you can utilize barge transport as well as rail, as well as truck transport. The one that I visited in Mount Pleasant is utilizing rail as well. And it's usually, it's basically to offset costs, because when you're using truck transport, you're having to manage the risk the entire time as you're carting this liquid around. And then but when you're on rail, the rail line assumes that risk, so but it's also a lot more cost effective than transport. The one in Mount Pleasant that we visited had probably 300,000 gallons of liquid asphalt, and what's being proposed here is 70,000 gallons. So this is what the typical facility looks like, or well, actually, I should say this is an illustration of vertical tanks, two 35,000 gallon tanks. You have a truck that is the liquid asphalt is brought in by rail line, piped to these vertical storage, and then pumped into the truck. Let me just go to uh, the risks here, the potential impacts. So the impacts you have, you see the residential subdivision to the south in this case, and then you have the school to the left. Other businesses around there are industrial uses. Liquid asphalt differs from, it's a storage type of use versus manufacturing. So it doesn't have a lot of the smells that are associated with this. There's still a hazard with it, and I did research the hazard, and that's why I have Jason here too. Um, so typically with this type of material, the liquid asphalt, I looked through to find any type of events, and I only found maybe 3 in the last 10 years. They're not quite as prevalent. When they do happen, it's usually typical because there was lack of maintenance. Like the one that happened in North Carolina, in Madison, North Carolina in 2023 is very similar to this type of use. It's a liquid asphalt. Hey, what happened to it? So this happened in North Carolina in 2023 where they had a 17,000 gallon liquid asphalt that leaked. There was a hole in the tank, and the heating unit was faulty and caught the liquid asphalt on fire. Now, how it's put out was basically you disconnect the faulty equipment and let it cool. This material, when it cools, it actually turns into a taffy that you can roll it like a fruit roll up. I think fruit roll ups are made of the same material.
So then they can box that up and
So I
sell
don't
it
eat fruit
afterwards.
roll ups either.
It's
It's very much like a fruit roll up that you can actually roll it and gather up the material when it cools down. So in this case, and I brought this one only because you can see the proximity to residents and daycares is a lot less than what's being proposed here.
Is there a notification if when an applicant comes in, is that in that radius to notify that this business is coming in?
Let's see.
Is that
I mean, if
something?
you're rezoning.
What's that?
If
If you're rezoning, but
Yes.
is this the chance? I mean, chance to put it in there that they should notify? I mean, within that radius. I mean, they're in a dangerous radius, so maybe they need to know.
It typically happens under two cases or 3 cases. You have annexations, rezoning, and then special
Right.
exceptions.
But if you put something that's dangerous in their area, you don't have to notify them.
If it's already zoned,
Oh, that's in that, and it's in that.
if it's already zoned.
So they're used to that. They're
Well-
used to having that. Yeah.
Well, I think the general state law is if you own property around.
Yeah.
You understand that you
Right.
may be beside something that's zoned
Right.
that way, and whatever is allowed in that category.
Right. Well, we had that one that, and with the hospital close, the factory there, and I just kind of brings back memories there, and I just want to make sure we don't miss a
Right.
step
Right.
while we're here.
Yeah, part of that was
Yeah.
not necessarily what we were doing here.
Right.
But what fire was doing in terms of getting their evacuation program. Letting people know how we've got a plan, this is what we do, that type thing. The question you asked was, could we put that in here? I mean, I suppose you all could put what you recommend to council to put in other types of notifications if you wish to, for various other things. Of course, I always have to balance that with an individual's property owner's right to use their property as we have
Yes.
defined, so in
I
the.
think that that's where we're at, because
Which
then
is-
you would get into a
Yeah.
case to where every little
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
Right, which is what I constantly get into issues with planning commissions and other, legislative bodies where I say, you just tell them to blame the lawyer. Usually when most people come to talk about things, there's very little that they could say, particularly at your level, at
Yes.
planning commission level.
Yes.
You've got values and standards that you go by, and just somebody saying, I don't like it, I think it's gonna affect my property, is not a valid reason to turn something like usually what you do down.
Yeah.
Now, on a rezoning, that's very
That's
different.
where you got that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Josh and the mayor can listen to what anybody has to
That's
say
right.
about that.
That's right.
That's a legislative decision.
And they
So
have to,
that's
too.
making law.
Yes,
They will know.
and that's why in this zoning ordinance I did put in supplementary regulations because of the potential for the smell. Now, well, the smell, but yeah, there's nothing to be done other than having evacuation procedures for if there's a fire, something like that. But the biggest thing that I thought would probably be aside from a fire event, which tends to be rare in this case unless people don't take care of their equipment and their material. The other, like you see at the explosion at the batch asphalt in 2022, that was a larger facility and they actually manufactured it. The other one, that was the other fire. The other event was a leak of 50,000 gallons that worker was smothered in, or I don't know what they call it when they're drowned in the asphalt. But
Since Fire's here to represent, do you have anything like to add? I mean, about it? Everything y'all can.
Pretty comfortable with it.
Okay, that's good.
Tom, how did you come to the decision to require a setback of 300 feet from a residential property, but only 100 feet from an educational or a park?
that was something that I pulled from actually a batch asphalt ordinance that Mount Pleasant had done. Theirs was 100 feet from the property line of educational or community park, and then 300 feet from, or actually, was it 300 feet? Theirs was 500 feet from a residential. But that was for batch, and they actually had also, was it under I-1? It might have been I-2, it might have been a similar type of industrial. They might have had slightly different setback requirements, but that's where that came from, because Mount Pleasant was the location of that other type of liquid asphalt storage.
Is there any compelling reason we just couldn't put 300 feet as the setback? I'd kind of like to protect an educational property as much as I would a residential.
Even it out a little
It
bit.
looked like the numbers you showed was everything that's being proposed is 500 feet, so 300
Yes.
doesn't seem like a
there's
unusual request.
Yeah, there was close to 500 feet to that residential area, and part of it too was just when and it's purely subjective. When I went out to the Mount Pleasant site, the where I started smelling, where you started smelling it and becoming, it wasn't. My report is a lot more detailed in there, and I'm trying to recall. It was a standard at the Asphalt Institute, and that might be biased, but they used it as a standard for what becomes a noxious smell or a nuisance. And I probably was maybe 200 feet, less than 200 feet from the upright tanks where it actually you could consistently
Asphalt,
smell.
like an asphalt smell.
Yeah, it was asphalt smell.
I figured
At 300 and 500 and 700, we measured at 1,000, 700, 300, and then 150, 200 feet to smell it. But that doesn't alleviate the
there are
fire
a lot
risk.
worse smells. I will say that. I mean, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
I mean the fire risk is definitely real, and because especially since there's a evacuation of
Yeah.
within a quarter mile. I think the Decatur one, they might have, or Decatur Street in Madison, North Carolina, they might have evacuated, they might have done a quarter mile, but I think they had a quarter mile shelter in place and then 1,000 feet from that incident.
Tom, just make certain, the way you've written it, it is whatever the measurement is, whether it's for residential, whether it's for the industrial, commercial, educational, whatever. It's from the lot line, not from the building, but from the lot line.
Yes, it was in the final iterations, it is from the lot line.
Okay.
But yes, it is still 100 feet from educational. But I think that there's
Yeah, your
ample
measurements are showing
opportunity.
500, so unless there's a compelling reason not to, just from the safety and the other, I'd rather just have 300 across the board.
300 for educational as
Yeah,
parking.
and the residential.
Okay.
From
Yeah.
any lot line, that's what I think what you're trying to say.
Yeah, now I don't believe there's a requirement from an industrial lot line because this
Okay.
would be an
Right.
industrial area.
Yeah, it's only things.
It's residential.
Commercial, residential, or any other
Or the
non-industrial
Yeah, well, or however he's already got it worded, just,
and
yeah,
non-industrial use.
yeah.
yeah.
Because you could have some things that are on industrial property.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
A park, a school, a
Yeah.
house,
Yeah.
anything you're
So you
trying to
change
attach,
to
yeah.
use the property.
Yes.
And so that, that potentially just raises the question, once they get there, somebody else could buy a parcel next door and could potentially change the use of it, but they're gonna be stuck with whatever's
They're
already.
That's right.
Yeah, that's on that part, yeah.
Right.
Right.
Tom,
Yes.
I was just thinking when you were talking about, when Ginger was talking about when a property is zoned and you could put whatever we have allowed as far as zoning. Are there breakdowns in industrial? Would there be like an industrial 1, 2, 3 as far as chemicals? Just like we was talking about the one we got in
Mm-hmm.
that before I became mayor.
Yes.
Do we have breakdowns of, it may be an industrial zone property, but this certain I-4 or I-5 could not be placed there? Do we have anything like that?
I mean, the table or the
Because
appendix.
in residential, we have R1, R2, R3.
Yes.
Do we have that in industrial?
Yes, we have I1, I2, and I3. I1 is the light industrial, I2 is the
That's
general
what I was
industrial,
thinking, okay.
and I3. And then in this case, I did put in supplementary regulations to, especially for buffering between the uses. Ours, the way that our code reads is that the industrial, it generalizes and says that you have to put buffering in
So you
there.
could put all three, either one of those three into this industrial zone
Oh,
property?
no. There are certain uses that cannot
I
go
was
into
thinking
that. Yes.
I was making sure.
Yes. There's this one is I put it under more the intermediate impact, which kicks it up into the category of where you have supplementary regulations.
Yeah.
Because there are impacts that are maybe not typical of
I2.
all
Okay.
industrial.
Is that
This is I2.
I
This
wanna
is This is I2. So if you think about it this way, so I1 is general industrial. Usually the activity happens on the inside. But then when you get to I2, you start having activities on the outside. But there's certain activities of industrial that might warrant additional regulations on top of it, like a supplementary regulation. So those fall into the category of the intermediate impacts.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get into the category I3. There might be certain I3s that can really fit into maybe the I2, but they're not. They're just not classified that way or designated in that way in our appendix. And then you have under the I3, you tend to have a lot more impacts to your surrounding,
Yes.
your adverse impacts. And so then you have
Hazard
another
level
category
and
of I3
Yeah.
where you need to have supplementary regulations or even more, a lot more heavier restrictions like quarry use.
Yeah.
Quarry use has probably one of the most restrictive requirements on it, even though as you go up in the industrial, it's supposed to be more flexible in the use. There are certain
I just
industrial
want to make sure,
applications.
especially with this location where it's at. Also, Volunteer, you know where Volunteer is between Chapel Hill and, is that a liquid asphalt plant? Or is that a storage? That's not a storage.
I think
That's
that's
just asphalt
that's a
plant.
cement.
A plant.
Oh, is that a
That's
batch
just
plant?
asphalt. It's just a batch plant.
Cause I came by it today and you could see the black.
Oh, yes, that's a batch plant
Yeah,
where they actually
yeah, that's what I was
manufacturing it.
thinking.
And
That's
and
what I was
so
thinking.
the other difference in this particular use too is that in a batch, you're gonna be storing raw materials too
Right.
to actually combine them together
Okay.
and produce the liquid asphalt.
Thank you.
They've actually got another one out on Lori Fisher Road.
Okay.
They bought outright.
Right.
Paved it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Out 231. What you're talking about?
No, out there on Lori Fisher Road.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Oh, we need a motion for a recommendation, for,
Yes,
to the commission?
yes, with the change of the
With,
300
yeah,
feet.
with the,
Okay. I'll make a motion, favorable recommendation with the 300 feet, distance requirement that we discussed
That'd be 300 feet on all setbacks.
on all setbacks. That's right.
from
Non-industrial
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 uses.
uses.
Yes.
300 feet from non-industrial uses.
All right, we got a motion.
Was that you? Okay, sorry.
Seconded by Steve. Roll call.
Commissioner Boland,
Yes.
Councilmember Blevins,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilhoit,
Yes.
Mayor Carroll,
Yes.
Commissioner Gill,
Yes.
Chairman Landers,
Yes.
Commissioner McGee.
Yes.
All right. Oh, let's see. All right, you interjected a
yes.
C, so I'll let you
Yeah,
take off
yes.
on that one.
Let me just write this one real quick. Okay. All right, so under item C is, and I combine C and D together because they're related. C is the resolution for a moratorium on data center uses. And I look for a recommendation for that. And then D is an ordinance for data centers. So you can see the number of jurisdiction, and there's actually a lot more that are imposing a moratorium on data centers. We have I wouldn't say we had the same problem as Nashville, which data centers can go into commercial areas. We just don't have we just don't have a classification for data centers. And so what the ordinance does is the ordinance basically just amends the table of uses and places data centers in the heavy industrial zone district.
That'd be the I-3 or the I-4?
That's I3. So you have greater setback requirements, and they're not going to be, preferably, hopefully, they're not going to be near any residential areas. But we'll get to that part of it under if there's a favorable recommendation for the moratorium, and then if City Council approves that, we can put in some type of supplementary regulations to mitigate for if you're near residential areas. And then also having a definition for data center. And I didn't do it as specific as some of the examples that I received in terms of like Nashville has very specific categories of data center. And what I've done is just basically define what a data center is in this case.
So in the meantime, if the moratorium is passed, that's when I guess staff will be coming up with similar language to what would we be doing?
Yeah, we'd be so the moratorium states that during that time period, it's for 1 year, allows council to extend that as necessary. But during that time period, study and come back with the actual
Right. Okay. So
standard.
that's actually
The
voiced in
regulatory
the
Yes, and that's stated in the moratorium resolution.
Okay.
But they're two separate documents, so the moratorium, the resolution needs a recommendation, and then
Okay, so we'll do them
ordinance.
separately.
Yes, and the ordinance will keep moving forward, so that'll have its two readings and a public hearing for it.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion on C.
I'll make a motion for a favorable recommendation on the resolution for the 1-year moratorium on data centers.
All right.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, roll call.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Taylor,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilhoit, Mayor Carroll,
Yes.
Commissioner Gill,
Yes.
Chairman Landers.
Yes.
Commissioner McGee,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowling,
Yes.
Councilmember Blevins.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll do D, the ordinance, the definition of the data center and the classification of the table of uses.
Can I ask one more question for you?
Sure.
Yes.
And I haven't looked at the future land use map to remember industrial land. Is it labeled I-1, I-2, I-3, or is it just industrial?
No, the future land use map just has, character areas,
Yeah.
so it would
The
be
zoning map
innovation.
does.
Or maybe I'm getting confused.
Oh, the zoning ordinance?
The zoning map.
Well,
has
yeah,
it on
zoning
there.
map does have I-1, I-2, I-3, yes.
And then how much is currently on there that's listed I-3?
I think
a lot.
there's only one parcel,
Yeah.
So
over by
if-
the industrial board.
If an application came in, they would, and it wasn't in that area, it would be a rezoning request.
That's correct.
That's correct.
More than likely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's only a small amount of areas where industrial, like you have the innovation character area, the north, is it 231 North Gateway or that corridor character area says you have to be an industrial, in the industrial board, or where the industrial board has all the other industrial uses, like Duxon, the Walmart, that area.
So there's currently I-3 in that area right now?
Yeah, there's a small section that is I-3 and it needs to be developed, yes.
All right.
Make a motion to approve the ordinance providing the definition
Favorable
or favorable recommendation to the city council on the ordinance providing definition on data centers and the classification and the table of uses.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, roll call.
Chairman Landers,
Yes.
Commissioner McGee,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowling,
Yes.
Councilmember Blevins.
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilhoit, Mayor Carroll,
Yes.
Commissioner Gill.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Site plan, Shellco Warehouse, Madison Street, Bedford County, tax map 89D, Group B, partial 13.01. Shellco Warehouse LLC, owner St. John Engineering LLC, representative requesting approval of 45,100 square foot, 35-foot high, single-story warehouse. The approximately 14.25 acre parcel is currently split zone C2 at Madison Street frontage and I2 general industrial and classified as Madison Street corridor character area for the C2 zone district, a mixed density residential character in the future land use map. Madison Street is functionally classified as an urban arterial with suburban future context characterization.
All right, so this is a facility that is right next to Albea. You can see on the map to the right there, the Albea, and then the site, and then in the rear of it is Cooper Steel Fabricators has a laydown yard. The parcels are zone I2 in that section, and along the frontage on Madison.
You broke it.
Yeah, I think I did.
Oh, there it goes.
It's actually worn out. Fronting on Madison Street to the south there is C2. It's C2 commercial. And what Shellco Warehouse LLC is requesting is a 45,100 square foot warehouse facility. It is permitted by right in that district. And it is to replace or augment their storage that's currently being used in Tullahoma. Now they just cart it next door. Or they'll take I guess a front end loader or something, move material that's manufactured in the Albea site to the Shellco site. And now my Advancer doesn't work anymore.
Zapped them both anytime.
I know, oh, there it goes.
Warehouse space.
Oh gosh, okay.
Export out there.
Yes, the future land use map, they must have just, during that time period, just added mixed density residential to everything, including industrial. This site has been industrial since 1962. And in my report, which I will go to here, on the right-hand side, the recommendation is to change the future land use map to innovation. You can see where, I don't know, I can only point to it. Well, it's actually where it shows the blue box. That is the site, and if we changed it to innovation, it'll connect up with all the other innovation properties. But one of the unusual, this is a atypical site, because you can see here that fronting is commercial. And then the rear of it is industrial. And since typically, in order to avoid having a flag lot, you have to have a frontage of whatever is the zone district. But since they have commercial, they can utilize the commercial frontage, which is 75 feet. And since it's not they're not using it to build an upright building, and it is only for access. It's an existing access, and it'll go to the actual building area. And that brings to another feature of this site too, is that it's already being used for truck transport out of that area. If I go to the aerial photograph, actually I have a better aerial photograph. You can see the site. This is a 2025 photograph on the left-hand side. That U-shaped accesses the parking lot as well as transport. So there's no change in, or according to Will, when he evaluated it, our city engineer, he said that there's no, he doesn't anticipate a substantial impact of traffic. It's being used the way it is, so that's why we didn't require a traffic study in this case. And you can see that over the years, it's just been the same neighborhood as far as compatibility goes. There's a non-conforming mobile home parks, and they're still there. And they've been there for, over 30 years. So there's nothing changed about the neighborhood, nothing changed about the underlying zoning. And then when we get to the actual project, this is basically just a large warehouse structure. Under our design guidelines, you can use a metal structure for this. It doesn't need any specific. They've done more in terms of adding landscaping to beautify the area than required under our design standard. Because since this is a private drive, it wasn't necessary to have as much landscaping, except for where you see on the south side of this property, along the commercial side, and then on the right-hand side, the east side that's fronting on the residential portion, it is required to be buffered. And they've got substantial amount of buffering on there, on both sides of it, or where they're required to have it, as well as they have it on their building on that front side facing towards Madison. It meets all of our bulk regulations, all of our design standards. Photometric, same thing, there's no light pollution anticipated for it with the amount of light fixtures on there. And you can see it's just a metal structure, and under our design standard, metal panels can be used for industrial location. And so for this project, we recommend that it be approved without any type of conditions on it. And the only thing is that under procedural notification, they'll have to do all the other things that are required, like obtaining building permits, electrical permits, things like that.
Can I answer questions?
Sure. Tom, the drive now, of course, I know about where it's at, where they have the entrance for the semis. Is that commercial or industrial where that drive is? Coming onto Madison Street there.
It is, let's see, so you can see it in this, that it is commercially zoned, and that's where
Okay.
the Madison Street corridor character area.
And that's exactly the same entrance and exit they'll have with this warehouse?
Yes, and there's no change in access.
And traffic wise, I don't think,
No impact
Don't
we don't
think any
anticipate
increase.
it.
You know, there is that existing light that just blinks yellow all the
Yeah,
time if
yeah,
you
I
ever
know.
needed it, you know. If you ever needed it, if it got too bad through there, you know, that light that blinks at the old
Buck
Walmart.
said
Oh,
he
yeah.
wants to get
Yeah.
rid of it.
Yeah, I mean, well,
yeah,
you might
that's
need it
what
one day,
I was thinking about the traffic situation, but you said Will looked at that and didn't.
Yes, he didn't see any
Coming out on
significant.
Madison Street there, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, cause I know it's been doing for years. That driveway's been used for years and years. And
Yes.
your warehouse was in Tullahoma. Did you ship from there to this plant over here? Okay.
All right,
Thank you, Tom.
all right. Being no other questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, roll call.
Commissioner Boland,
Yes.
Mayor Carroll,
Yes.
Commissioner Gill,
Yes.
Councilmember Blevins,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor,
Yes.
Chairman Landers,
Yes.
Commissioner McGee,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilhoit. Thank you.
All right, staff reports, your
Okay.
administrative approvals.
So we had only one administrative approval, that was 710 Blue Ribbon Parkway. There was an addition that was placed in between the two buildings where you see it says the project area. It's in between the buildings, not visible from any public right of way, doesn't impact stormwater, or anything else. No stormwater, doesn't require conformance with the design standards and no traffic impact, so that was approved administratively. That's it.
All right. Being there's nothing else, we'll stand adjourned.
I'd like you to stay. I want to tell you.
Getting your money's
Thanks,
worth.
son.
Not tonight.
For the moment.
All
You
right.
got your check yet?
I'll get you in just a second.